Hello everyone, today we're going to look at sales tax. So sales tax is a state or city tax that's added to the price of certain items. It's a percentage of what we call the marked price of an item, which is the price before any sales tax is added. Sales tax rates differ by state, and some states, like New Hampshire, don't have any. So we're going to use a couple of abbreviations here. We're going to let MP be the marked price, which again is the price before the sales tax. ST will be the sales tax itself, so in dollars. R is the sales tax rate. Now the sales tax rate is usually given as a percentage, and we're going to need to change it to a decimal. And remember, percent means per 100, so we're going to take something like 5% and divide it by 100. And then TP is total price. That is the price after the sales tax. We're going to use the following three formulas to solve problems involving sales tax. The first is that MP times R equals ST. So this is just the sales tax is a percentage of the marked price. We're also going to use MP plus ST equals TP. So the total price is the marked price plus the sales tax. And then combining those two equations, we get that MP times 1 plus R is TP. So that's coming from this equation, MP plus, and then we're going to use MP times R is ST equals TP. And then we're factoring out the MP. So if we take that out, we're left with our third equation. So our third equation is really just the first two equations combined together. So for our first example, we have find the sales tax and total price for an item marked at $10.50 if the sales tax rate is 7%. So we're looking for ST and TP. We know MP, the marked price, so that's MP, and we know R. So the first equation we're going to use to find sales tax is MP times R equals ST. So we plug in the two numbers that we were given. And again, remember that 7% needs to be as a decimal. So 7% is 0.07. And then we got to make sure that we're talking about dollars. So we need to the nearest hundredth. So we're going to get 74 cents. So that's our sales tax. And then the total price, we're going to use the second equation we were given, MP plus ST equals TP. So $10.50 plus 74 cents gives us a total price of $11.24. As another example, an item totals to $52.25 after a 6.25% sales tax. Find the marked price. So the percentage is the R, and then after the sales tax gives us the total price. So we have that TP is $52.25 and R is 0.0625 as a decimal. So we're going to use the third equation that said MP times 1 plus R equals TP. We know R is 0.0625, so add that to 1. We get MP times 1.0625 equals the total price of $52.25. We'll then find MP by dividing both sides by 1.0625. And then rounded to the nearest hundredth, we get $49.18. Always make sure that your answer makes sense, both in the fact that you need the hundredths place and that the marked price is always smaller than the final price, right? The marked price added to the sales tax gives the total price. Sarah bought items costing $10, $15, and $20. Each are subject to a 7% sales tax. Find the total cost of her purchase. Whenever we have multiple items being purchased that have a sales tax associated with them, we always add their marked prices together first and then find the sales tax. So if you've ever looked at a receipt, you see that the sales tax is calculated at the very end and not per item. So the first thing we got to do here is find the total marked price. So that's going to be the 10 plus 15 plus 20. So we have a marked price of $45. We are looking for total cost, so the total price, and we have R, the sales tax. So again, we want to use that third equation. And we have 45 times, again, R is 0.07, so 1 plus R is 1.07. And that's going to give us $48.15. An item costs $23.50 before taxes, so that is the marked price, and $25.03 after taxes, so that's the total price. Find the sales tax rate. So again, we're going to use the third equation, so MP times 1 plus R equals TP. We're going to plug in the MP and the TP, and now there's two ways that we could solve this. We could distribute the 23.5 across the 1 plus R, or we can just get rid of it right away by dividing both sides. So 1 plus R is going to be 25.03 divided by 23.50. That's not going to be something nice, right? It's 1.065106383, and then there's more digits than that. But that's 1 plus R, so R is the whole decimal part of that. And then we want the answer as a percentage. So to go from the decimal to the percentage, we're going to multiply by 100, and then we're going to round to the nearest tenth after we've moved the decimal. So as a percentage, we're going to get 6.5%. Make sure you don't round until you've changed to a percentage first. So you don't want to round, say, to like 0.07 and then change it to 7%. So make sure you're moving the decimal and then rounding after. The total price of a purchase was $32.50. So again, that's the total price, TP. The tax, a dollar amount, is ST. So ST is 2.45. We want the sales tax rate. We want R. So notice in this situation, we don't have the marked price at all, and all three of our equations involve MP as being one of the variables. So there's no equation that just has these three things in our problem. So we're going to have to find MP. And since we have TP and ST, we're going to use the second equation. So MP plus ST equals TP. I'm going to plug in what we know, and then solve for MP by subtracting 2.45 from both sides. And we get that the marked price is $30.05. So now we can go back and use either equations 1 or 3 to find R. So equation 1's a little easier to work with, so we'll use that one. So we're going to plug in what we know. So MP is 30.05, ST is 2.45. So if we want to get R by itself, we're going to divide both sides by 30.05. And that will give us, again, our rate as a decimal. So 0.08153. We'll move the decimal over twice to multiply by 100, and then we'll round. So in this case, I rounded to 2 decimal places after changing it to a percentage. So it would be 8.15%. The total price of an item was $105.20. Find the marked price if the sales tax was 7.5%. So we have TP and MP and R. So we're going to use that third equation. We'll plug in what we know. So 7.5% is 0.075. So 1 plus 0.075 gives us 1.075. We're going to divide both sides by 1.075. And we get that MP is $97.86. And again, make sure we round to the nearest hundredth for this since it's a dollar amount. The total price of an item was $51.37. Find the sales tax if the rate was 5%. So we have TP, we want ST, and we know R. So this is another situation where we don't have the marked price. So again, we're going to have to find it first. So So based off of the information we have, we want to use the third equation. We have MP, we're looking for MP, we have R, and we have TP. So we'll plug in what we know. Again, 5% becomes 0.05 as a decimal. Divide both sides by 1.05. To the nearest hundredth, we have the marked price is $48.92. Now that we have that, we can find the sales tax, ST, by going back to our second equation. So MP plus ST equals TP. Plug in what we know, and then subtract 48.92 from both sides, and we get a sales tax of $2.45. Okay, so hopefully we feel comfortable using those three equations, and let me know if you have any questions.